I decided to make a video about the patient's perception of endoscopy when recently a patient said to me, you know something, you doctors go to some extreme in trying to explain to us the nature of this technical procedure, but you have very little idea of what we as patients go through in the build-up to the endoscopy. And the video which you're about to see is in fact the video diary of a patient showing her vision of endoscopy. Kate actually told me that her anxiety began when she walked into the reception area of the hospital.
Miss Linda, please.
She was obviously hoping that she'd have explanation and reassurance, but she found it somewhat difficult to actually listen to what was being told to her because so much play seemed to be made around the procedure that was going to be done to help diagnose her intestinal problems.
And the best way to look for this is to pass a telescope into your stomach. And with the telescope we can actually look around and see whether you've got ulcers, inflammation, perhaps maybe an infection in your stomach. And the test doesn't take very long. It'll take your things with you and just go to the first room on the left. Okay? Thank you.
I always thought that the written information which the patient could take home, read in their own time, perhaps brood over it for a while would be helpful. But in fact, Kate said to me that the written information didn't allay her anxieties. It was a rather bureaucratic and formal document which she received. And there were a lot of aspects of her endoscopy which she remembered after the procedure which weren't touched on. Would it be done in theatre? Would it be done in a special endoscopy unit? Would it be done in an ordinary room? Would it be done in a ward? These sort of questions were never really broached by the piece of paper. Well, again, you know, when I'm stuck in the endoscopy unit, I don't really have much thought about what's going on out there. And Kate again brought to my attention the fact that waiting in the waiting area was a very anxiety-inducing event. And what's more, it was like a railway station. There were medical students walking up and down, talking about things that she couldn't understand within easy earshot.
So I feel embarrassing. I think they'll end up really sore.
The time passed extremely slowly. There was a watch which she kept looking at, and there was no real idea as to exactly when she'd be called. Each patient that was called seemed to be rather a random event. And I must say that I don't have that sort of sensitivity to what she was going through.
Morning. Kate, are you ready now? Right, you're right to come along.
So they would normally be invited into the endoscopy unit by the nurse, who would then bring her into the unit, where of course she'd immediately be overwhelmed by all the technology around, the computers and the tubes and the light sources and the noises, and of course the people as well in their particular uniforms, distinguishing them. And this, to the patient and to Kate in particular, came as rather a surprise. She thought she might just be walking into a ward to have this done, or into a simple room.
Hello.
Okay, Ms. Lindsay, what I'd like you to do is...
Her major concern was that she saw a lot of strange people to whom she'd not really been introduced, actually converging on her in this rather vulnerable situation of lying on an uncomfortable examination couch and being told that there'd be a little prick in the back of her arm and she'd fall asleep.
Okay, Kate, open your mouth. Just put your teeth around here. Okay.
We've managed to solve half the problem of the patient's anxiety in the context of the sedation that we can offer them for the procedure itself. So the procedure turns out not to be a traumatic period for the patient, and indeed, once they've woken up and start to recollect about the procedure, they usually have no memory at all. They have a long-standing memory of the build-up, deeply imprinted on their minds, and this is what Kate mentioned to me, and this is why she felt it would be worthwhile producing a video diary of her experience, because it was not the endoscopy which was the problem. It was in fact the indelible picture that she has in her mind of this totally foreign environment, which was really not explained to her in any detail at all, which will live with her for a long time. I think this is really the area that we need to focus on if we're going to try and improve the overall quality of endoscopy for the patient.